Hi guys, today we are on pages 13 and 14, and we are just going to start hopefully looking at word problems and being able to write them, and then tomorrow we'll be able to start applying them and solving them based off of what we write. So when a system of linear equations represents a real world context, each equation represents a constraint or a situation or a condition. The solution represents the value of the variable where both constraints of the situation are met, or when they are true. For the problems given below, identify what each variable represents and write in words what each equation represents. So number 1, Reggie's parents require him to do a total of 16 chores a month. His chores include sweeping the floors and cleaning the bathrooms. His parents pay him $2 each time he sweeps and $4 each time he cleans the bathroom. This month, Reggie earns a total of $52. So we already wrote the system. We have x plus y equaling 16, and we have 2x plus 4y equaling 52. So the first thing I just think about is what our variables represent. So basically, what's happening in this problem? Well, he is doing chores, and the two chores he does is by either sweeping the floors or cleaning the bathrooms. Okay, so he gets paid $2 each time he sweeps. So I see 2x, so that means x has to represent every time he sweeps. So the number of times he sweeps. Okay. The other thing he can do is clean the bathroom, and he makes $4 every time he cleans the bathroom. And so I see right here 4y, so I know that y has to be the number of times he cleans his bathroom. Okay. Then it says, what constraint or what condition is being represented by x plus y equaling 16? So I just like to, after I figure out what my variables represent, I just like to read it basically. The number of times he sweeps plus the number of times he cleans the bathroom is equal to 16. And if you see right here, it says he does a total of 16 chores a month. So that this equation represents the total number of chores that he does. Okay, so he does 16 chores a month, and that includes a combination of sweeping and cleaning the bathroom. Then the other equation is 2x plus 4y equaling 52. So in my story problem, I see he gets paid $2 every time he sweeps, $4 every time he cleans the bathroom, and he makes a total of $52. So this is representing the amount of money he earns. Completing his chores. Okay, so now what we're going to do is hopefully be able to now write an equation kind of using a similar concept. So Evan's mom drops him off at Entertainment Zone for 3 hours and buys him 11 tickets. Evan can spend his tickets driving go-karts or playing mini golf, which each cost 1 ticket. Driving the go-kart takes 10 minutes, and a game of mini golf lasts 45 minutes. How many of each activity can Evan participate in before his mom comes back to pick him up? So the first thing I like to do is I like to think about what's happening. So his mom dropped him off, and he is doing 2 different things at this Entertainment Zone. He is playing go-karts or he's playing mini golf. So X would be the number of times he goes and drives the go-karts. And Y would represent the number of times he plays the mini golf. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to explain one of the constraints. And so the first thing I notice is that he's there for 3 hours. Okay. So I tried to look and find anything else that's talking about time. So this is talking about tickets, but it also says driving the go-karts takes 10 minutes. Okay, so for go-karts. And then for mini golf, it lasts 45 minutes. For mini golf. Okay. The other constraint that I see, the other condition, is that his mom gave him money and he bought 11 tickets. Okay, so the other constraint is that he has 11 tickets. If I see anything else, each game that he participates costs 1 ticket each. Okay. So to write my system, I am going to first write using the 3 hours. Okay. So 3 hours is equivalent to 60 minutes in an hour. So that would be 180 minutes. We just want to make that sure that our units are similar. So go-karts take 10 minutes. So 10 minutes every time you go on a go-kart, plus 45 minutes for every time you want to go mini golfing. And that's going to equal a total of 3 hours or 180 minutes. So using this first constraint, we can write this first equation. Okay? The other equation that we can write is the number of tickets. So they have a total of 11 tickets, and each time to go and play one of these games is 1 ticket. So it's 1 ticket to go go-karting, it's 1 ticket to go mini golfing, and he has a total of 11 tickets. Okay? Anyway, we can solve this, but we're just practicing writing right now. Okay. This one says to identify the variables and write a system of equations for each situation. Mr. Kingsley and Mrs. Harris are math teachers at Roosevelt High School. Together, the teachers make 340 copies each week. Mr. Kingsley makes three more than half as many copies as Ms. Harris makes. Write a system of equations that represents the number of copies Mr. Kingsley makes X and the number of copies Ms. Harris makes Y. Okay, so let's first just think about the constraints that we have. We already know that X is Mr. Kingsley, and we know that Y equals Mrs. Harris. Okay. First, it says that they make a total of 345 copies. Okay, so however many Mr. Kingsley makes plus however many Ms. Harris makes has to equal 345 every single week. Okay? Another situation that I know is that Mr. Kingsley makes 3 more than half as many as Ms. Harris. So Ms. Harris makes a lot more. Okay, so Mr. Kingsley X is equal to 3 more, so to add 3, than half as many as Miss Harris. So I basically just wrote 3 more, which means to add half as many as Miss Harris. Okay. Number 4, River Racing is a company that provides inner tubes for children and adults to float the river. The child tube has a diameter of 2.5 feet, and the adult tube has a diameter of 3 feet. River Racing owns a total of 160 tubes, and the total diameter of all the tubes is 430 feet. Write a system to determine the number of child tubes C and the number of adult tubes A at River Racing owns. So we have C being child tubes, and we have A being adult tubes. Okay, so we have 2 conditions or 2 constraints. The first we know is that a child tube has a diameter of 2.5 feet and adult tubes have a diameter of 3 feet. Now, 160 is not talking about the diameter, but this 430 is. So it says the entire diameter of every single tube, if we lined all of them up, would be 430 feet. So my first condition would be 2.5 for every child tube plus 3 feet for every adult tube would have to equal a total diameter, or all of them together, I guess I should say, of 430. Okay. My other condition would be that they just have a total of 160 tubes. So when I put these numbers together, the child tubes plus the adult tubes, they have to equal 160. Okay. Annette has a math and science test this week. She sets aside 275 minutes for study time. She determines she needs to study for science 10 minutes, less than twice the amount of time she studies for her math test. Circle the name of the student who correctly wrote a system of equations to find the number of minutes Annette needs to study for her math test X and her science test Y. So go ahead and try to select who you think would be correct. Okay, so when I compare all of them, they all have X plus Y equaling 275, which makes sense because that's how much time she has to study for both tests. So basically, we're just trying to figure out who is correct and assuming that they wrote the second equation correct. So she says she needs to study for science. So science is Y for 10 minutes less than twice the amount of time she studies for her math test X. So Y, her science test, needs to be 10 less than twice her math test. So that looks like that would be DeAndre. Okay. We have the table below shows the cost of yoga classes at two different studios. Studio A charges a mat fee of $25, but Studio B has no initial fee. Write a system of equations to determine when the two studios will cost the same. Okay, so Studio A, we have X being number of classes and Y being total cost. So as the number of classes changes, the total cost is obviously going to change. So this means that I can write my equations in slope-intercept form, Y equals mx plus b, because as this X changes, my Y changes as well. So I'm going to find the rate of change. So the cost is increasing by $60 for 4 class periods. So my slope would be 60 over 4, which is equivalent to 30 over 2, which is equivalent to 15. So my slope for A would be 15. Okay. It also says that Studio A charges a mat fee of $25. So that would be like they're starting their initial fee. So for Studio A, the equation would be Y equals $15 a class plus a $25 mat fee, a one-time sign-up fee. Okay. We also could go backwards if we wanted to. These are going up by 15s. So then we would be at 55 for 2 classes. We would be at 40 for 1 class, and then we would be at $25 for 0 classes. And that shows that initial fee. Okay. For Studio B, okay, the rate of change is $40 for 2 classes. So the rate of change would be 40 over 2, which would be equivalent to 20. Okay, so my equation would be Y equals 20x. Now in the word problem, it says Studio B does not have an initial fee, so we could just stop right there. Okay, we could go backwards and we would see that it's going up by 20s. So it'd be 60 for 3, it'd be 40 for 2, it'd be 20 for 1, and it'd be 0 for 0. So we can also see that it has no initial fee. Okay, so again, all this is asking us is to just write this system. All right, the final problem. Bustin' Barbecue Pit sells sausage and brisket by the pound. Rusty orders 2 pounds of sausage and 3 pounds of brisket for his family and pays a total of $21. Marta orders 10 pounds of sausage and 14 pounds of brisket and pays $100.50. Right? Find the cost per pound of the sausage B and the brisket, or sausage S and brisket B. So S is representing the number of pounds of sausage, and B represents the number of pounds of brisket. Okay, so Rusty is going to be an entire different condition, a constraint compared to Marta. So we're going to write Rusty first. Okay, and we know that Rusty ordered 2 pounds of sausage and 3 pounds of brisket for a total of $21. So this is in standard form because we have 2 different things that change as we change the combination of them. Okay, then we have Marta. who's a totally different condition or situation. She bought 10 pounds of sausage and 14 pounds of brisket and had to pay $100.50. Now it says to find the find the cost per pound. Okay, so we need to basically solve this. So I see 2 sausages, 10 sausages. I see 3 briskets, 14 briskets. So I think if this was a 10 or a -10, this would be pretty easy to solve. So I'm going to multiply everything by -5. I'm going to get -10 sausages, -15 briskets. Let's see. And I'm going to get -105. I'm going to check that real quick. Okay. So now my sausages will eliminate. 14 briskets minus 15 briskets would be -1 brisket. $100.50 minus 105 would be -4.5. Okay, divide by -1. So B equals 4.5. Okay, that means it is $4.50 per pound. Okay, now to figure out what the S would be equal to, we can plug it into either one. I'm going to plug it into the top one because it's smaller. So we have 2 S's plus 3 pounds of brisket for $4.50 each has to equal $21. So 3 pounds at $4.50 each would be $13.50. Then I'm going to take out $13.50 from the $21 and get $7.50. Then I'm going to divide by 2, and I get S being $3.25 per pound. All right, so for today, guys, we are just going to practice solving them and then, writing them, and then there will be one that you will have to solve on the Go Formative. I'll see you tomorrow.